Wow. I know that's not for me, but it feels very nice. Thank you. Wow. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the 48th Annual Toronto International Film Festival. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for filling our cinemas. Thank you for filling our hearts. We love you, and we're running on pure adrenaline, so the applause actually do mean a lot. I'm Dorota Lech. I'm the curator of our Central, Eastern, and Southern European cinema, and as such, it is my greatest honor to be introducing the Canadian premiere of Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest. That's right. The Zone of Interest is playing in our special presentations program, in which you can find films from notable directors telling stories of larger than usual scope and scale. We would like to thank our lead sponsor, Bell, and our major sponsors, RBC Bulgarian Visa, for their continued support. Additional thanks to our government supporters, the Government of Ontario, Telefilm Canada, and the City of Toronto. We would like to thank Elevation Pictures and A24 for providing us with this film. Further thanks go to the British Council for their generous support. Before I introduce our most esteemed guest, a reminder that this film is eligible for the People's Choice Award, and you can vote for as many films as you like throughout the festival using your ticket number at tiff.net/vote. Jonathan Glazer was born in London, England. His films include Birth and the festival selections Sexy Beast from the year 2000 and Under the Skin from 2013. The Zone of Interest is his most recent film and comes to us from Cannes competition, where it received the Grand Prix. I won't say much about this film. I will let you take it in for yourself, other than I think you are about to see the most important film of the year, if not the decade. Without further ado, let's welcome to the stage Jonathan Glazer.
Good evening. Hello, Toronto. Thank you to TIFF, obviously, for inviting the film. And we really appreciate you all and your curiosity and wanting to come and see it. I'd like to introduce some of my colleagues who I've made this film with. First of all, my friend and producer, Jim Wilson. Hello. And our other producer, Eva Pachinska. And my new friend and great cinematographer, Łukasz Żal. And the lead actor of the film, Friedel. Also to thank our finances. Normally, people do say don't forget to mention the finances out of politeness, but actually, on this occasion, I'm very happy and proud to do so. We've got some wonderful and very gracious financiers who have supported the process from the beginning to the end. So I'd like to thank A24, Film 4, and Access. And I believe we're doing a Q&A afterwards, so we shall hopefully see some of you there. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming back to the stage Jonathan Glazer, as well as producer Jim Wilson, producer Eva Puszczynska, cinematographer Łukasz Żal, and Friedel. I'm going to give everyone a moment to catch their breaths, and let's begin by having a conversation. Jonathan, From the moment I saw your film, there's something I've wanted to ask you, and this is from the perspective of someone who's from Poland, grew up in Poland, just 200 kilometers from where this film was shot, and has spent a lot of their lives processing this history, as many people in Poland and across the world have. It's a film set in the past, but it very much feels like it's a film about the present, and I wonder, why did you choose to make this now?
Well, I've been thinking about it for a few years, and in those few years, it's one of the things I found very difficult to comprehend when I started was how a whole society could adopt this ideology, these ideas, and kind of relinquish their own moral responsibility or abdicate their own responsibility, moral responsibility. And now, I think in the few years that have passed since I started the project, it's become very obvious to me how that's possible.
Christian, incredible performance. I can't imagine what it took to get into this role, but can you please give us your perspective of how this script came to you and how you approached portraying this character?
I would say thank you for the applause. It's really touching for me. I saw the movie now, and I need a breath too, but I will answer. I'm a professional. No, for me it was really funny because I had a call to do a selfie, to introduce myself, to say why I'm becoming an actor for a new project of Jonathan Glazer, but without knowing what it's about, without knowing the script, without knowing the potential role. And I have to decide to do it in German or English, and I decided to do it in German because I felt it's more natural. And then I met John and his longtime friend and producer Jim in a pub in London. And and then he shares his vision, he shares the script, he shares the idea. He told me the story, I don't know, this story about Rudolf Höss, that they lived so close to the camp. And we spoke about the potential role. I saw rare photos and so on. And then I had a traditional casting, and I read the script for the first time, and it was really amazing. It was an amazing script, and for me, for the first time, from the very beginning, I want to be a part of it. And then after the casting, John made, it was like a marriage proposal. He asked me, do you want to join me to make this project? And I said yes, yeah.
Jim, I know that you were very involved before the film began in the research, and I wonder if you could give us some insights into what it took to get this historical time and place set on film.
Well, what you just said, that was, a lot of research. So from starting in, I think 2014, 2015, when we read Martin Amis's novel, The Zone of Interest, that it's loosely adapted from, but really completely departed from. I mean, the thing that John took from that was the perspective, the point of view, but nothing more, because that book was about a fictional concentration camp and a fictional camp commandant. But once you started to look into it, you could see that it was clearly based on Auschwitz, and we started looking into that. We were in London really at that time, and instantly came upon the real Höss family and their house and garden and the way they lived their life. And then we went to Poland. John went to Poland, and the house is still there, and he saw it. And that really was a process of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years of intense research in Poland. Not in Poland, but certainly a lot of time there at the Auschwitz State Museum, working through that, looking at their archives. I think, John, you sort of gave this instruction to our researchers. We were working with a brilliant research producer, Bartek Rainsky, who's not here, and our British-based researcher, Lucy Pardee, to sort of look for any reference to the Hösses, Hedwig, Rudolf, the family, that was in the vast archives of the Auschwitz Museum, most of which is dedicated to stories of the victims, and for understandable reasons. So it was really years of going through that material, published material, and just finding, pretty much trying to find everything that was ever recorded that we could about things that had happened in their life. And from that huge sort of vats of research, John picked the moments, including obviously, I suppose, this moment in their lives when Rudolf was ordered to be transferred to Oranienburg, and Hedwig refused to go, which is true. And that there was a report by the gardener at the time about an argument they'd had where Hedwig had said, you know, I'm not leaving, you'd have to drag me out of here. And I think for John that was a sort of an epiphany of how to, where to join them in this world. So yeah, it was just a huge amount of research into the history, and then making a screenplay from that. I guess that's it. I don't know if you can speak to that.
No, Eva, next for you from the Polish side. As we learned from the credits, the film is shot on location, and I'd love for you to give us a sense of what it took to make that happen and to get a film like this off the ground in Poland.
And I just couldn't, from the very beginning, I just couldn't imagine the film to be shot somewhere or anywhere else than in Poland. You know, this is from the first moment I read the script, and you know, it was 2018 when I was introduced to Jim first. And then I came and he sent me the script, and I really fell in love with it. And I really said, this is something which I really want to be involved, and I have to be involved in. And you know, this film has to be shot in Poland. And it took us a year, I think, looking for the locations for the house, because the initial idea was to shoot in the original, in the real house of Rudolf Höss, which still exists, and there is the people live there. But then we realized it was really not a good idea, and we're trying to find the premises, the spot that we can recreate the whole geography of the house and of the camp and shoot there. And it was really probably some, I don't know, the guardian angel was looking after us, that after a year of, you know, looking all around Poland to find the place, we found that the house, which is really like 100 meters away from the original house, which is really just behind the walls of the museum, of Auschwitz Museum, we could use and build there our, well, I don't want to use the word set, because it was not the set, to recreate the real life and the real house of Rudolf Höss. And that was incredible work, I think, of, you know, the international team. We had a beautiful, you know, production designer, Chris Ode from UK, but he was working, his working team was totally built out of Polish, you know, people who are working on the production designs. You know, we had a Polish costume designer, Małgosia Karpiuk, which was not easy to convince Jim to work with her, but finally...
I was convinced.
Yes.
We're joking, we love it.
But then now it's that, you know, now I think they love each other very much, and so it was...
It wasn't hard to convince.
Yes, it was, but it's the normal process, you know, when you come to the totally different country, you don't know the people. It's normal that you want to work with those whom you trust, whom you know, because it's a very important emotional thing you are going to do. So there was no hard feelings, but I really wanted, you know, the Polish people, as many as possible, creative, to be, you know, on this job. It was, for me, I'm talking about me, but I think it was not only me, it was the whole crew. It was very, very emotional. Very emotional. In Poland, you know, the Holocaust and all these stories are well known. I think we have this in our DNA, in the collective memory. And so this was very, very emotional experience. And, you know, John, with recreating the world, you know, this is really leading us to recreate this world, you made it even more emotional, because it was so very, very, very real, and very honest and very truthful. So it was, I think, I'm really grateful that we could do it together. It was great. Thank you guys both. Yeah.
Next, I will go to Łukasz Żal, the cinematographer, who, by the way, received a big award yesterday at TIFF, the TIFF Variety Artisan Award, for his career's work.
Thank you.
Łukasz, can you give us a sense of when you came onto the project and how you and Jonathan worked together to make this film happen?
So I think I came when it was. It was first time we met in April. Yeah, I think so. Just before. Yeah, of course we had a conversation with John just like before a few months before shooting. It was
the beginning of the year we made it, 2021.
Yeah, beginning of the year.
2020.
But of course, John. Yeah, we did commercials together because John wanted to make a test, so he invited me for a commercial to London. So
he passed with flying colours, yeah.
And then after this commercial, I got a phone call, and we had a meeting, first a Zoom meeting, and then, but of course, I read the script, and as everybody, I fell in love totally, and realized I would love to do that, and then. Yeah, and then we went for a recce, and it was interesting because we have a kind of a cold start with John. But then, after some time, it was like amazing, and the whole process, like going, we just started working. We went to the house. I remember, I have a picture from April. There was nothing. There was just a house and the soil and nothing there. And then we just went for a first meeting, and then we start prepping the film.
So everything what you saw in the film, it was made for the film. It was recreated for the film. There was no house, no garden, nothing. The house, there were just the walls. But then everything inside it was created by Chris and his team, and the garden was built from scratch as well.
Jonathan, I'd love, the pacing and the tone of your film is impeccable and it's so specific. Could you give us a sense, were you able to shoot chronologically?
No, it's a strange way to film, for sure, but it wasn't all chronological. I mean, you always start with that desire that you want to shoot everything chronologically. But there are so many other factors involved that, the timeline, is dependent on so many other factors. But the fact that we shot the way we did, and basically we shot with a system which basically we had 10 cameras. And the idea of that was to sort of be able to stand away and look at these characters and the portraits of them almost sort of anthropologically, like we're watching their actions rather than their feelings. And also, so I didn't want to film it like a normal film because I didn't want to empower them or glamorize or fetishize, which is very easy to do, just because that's what cinema is for, or that's the kind of bloodstream of cinema. So we needed to create a system which allowed us to look at them like goldfish in a bowl, really. I always talk about it like Big Brother in the Nazi house. That was a sort of early way of sort of thinking about how we were going to make this film, and because we had all these cameras, we were able to shoot in real time, and the audience are then experiencing them in that real time. So I think that gave it a certain quality, which it felt like it was the right thing to do for this project.
I wonder, was there a scene that you found particularly hard to shoot? Was there a part of the film that was the most challenging from memory?
I think the thing I was most reluctant, the thing I was dreading shooting were the gas chambers, was the camp itself. It was all very difficult for obvious reasons, and as Ava said, it was the proximity of filming to the actual camp was a stone's throw, and so we were on that soil, and I think it had an effect on everybody, of course, and focused everybody, and I think that the quality is in the film because of that. I think when we stepped into the museum, you remember, it was a very difficult, you're sort of doing it, so you have to do it, you just have to sort of fortify yourself to go and shoot that stuff, because it's obviously, a terrible place.
But, I remember when we were in the museum, and of course we're shooting quite early because we need to shoot before they start working and people are coming. And I remember my camera operator came to me and said, Łukasz, do you like the frame? I said, how can I like the frame? And we are in a gas chamber, and just like, because get involved in just, setting up the camera, setting up the lens, changing lens, looking for a frame, and then you are just in the moment that just understanding where you are, and I think we had this all the time. We were shooting, of course, in museum, but I think just having the camp so close, I mean, because I was not living in a hotel, so every day I was passing the camp, and like every day just going to the set and going back, you were just passing the camp, and that was, I don't know, but the feeling, you know, just passing this, to feel the camp all the time, you know, that was like all the time thinking, we were all the time thinking about this, you know. I think the whole crew was thinking about it, everybody was talking about it, and that was like, it was such a strong feeling that you feel this, you can feel this all the time.
And hearing from all of your answers, obviously there was so much emotion in this production. I wonder, what was the behind the scenes like? How did you keep this crew sane during this?
Well, you know, like I remember I used to read stories about Ingmar Bergman films and the atmosphere on set, and obviously for Ingmar Bergman fans in the audience, I'm sure there are some. You should all be Ingmar Bergman fans, by the way, but I'm sure there are some. That there was it was fun, you know, there was a lot of fun and a lot of joy and pranks and just everybody messing about, because I think, and we had that. It was very, you know, you have to sort of support each other, and you have to have that levity, really, to be able to get on with your work. As Lucas said, it's sort of, at some point you have to just sort of stop thinking about where you are and get on with the work. I don't think you could do it otherwise, really. There were days when people were very affected, of course, all of us. I think everybody in the crew at one point or another had very difficult days. But I think you kind of galvanize each other, you know.
I would love to try taking a question from the audience, and please be respectful and ask a question and not make a comment. Let's raise your hands. Yes, right there. This is a great question. Could you please comment on the sound design? Mika Levy's score is phenomenal.
Sound design question, that's the question. I mean,
I like it.
It's a good question. So, I mean, the sound is, there's two, obviously. There's Mika Levy, who's a very good friend and collaborator of mine for many years. She's also, they are also, had their own struggles with this project for the same reasons we did. But the other aspect, of course, is the actual sound design, which, you know, as opposed to the music. And the sound design was done by Johnny Byrne, who, again, I've been working with for over 20 years on everything I've ever done, really, since, and more. And what I said to Johnny up front was, this is a film, you know, we're not going to see the horror, and we're not going to reenact the horror or the atrocities, and I just personally don't think that's the right way to do this, to tell this story. And so I knew I was going to do it really in sound, and sound is so interpretive, you know, we can all hear, we all imagine. I think many people understand what is over that wall from archive, and, you know, everything from lessons at school to Schindler's List and all the rest. You know, there is a kind of understanding of that imagery, and I certainly didn't want to repeat it. And I felt sound would give us that experience. So there were two films. One is the one you see, and one is the one you hear.
Yes. Compliment to your film, and the question is?
In the corners.
So just
why were there cameras on
just
the
to
corners?
repeat the question for
Yeah.
all those folks up there, if you could talk about the choice of shooting in the house and why all the cameras in the corners.
Well, they're not all in the corners. Some are in the corner. I mean, you're in box rooms, by and large. So in order to see the action that is coming in and out of those rooms, you need to be as far away from it as you can to see it, to understand it. So we were sometimes putting the cameras in the corners of the rooms, and other times in the walls. And
a lot of cameras were square, so I think that there was like, yeah, there were because, you know, just to see, the rooms were not so big, so just, you know, to see the action, you just need to put a camera in the corner sometimes. So that was sometimes the reason, you know, really just to see the action well, and yeah.
I think a lot of it was, you know, on a normal film, conventional story filmmaking, you know, you have conversations about the camera position and lens different to this film. This film was very much about, look, you know, let's see these, you know, you want to see the person in the room. I mean, it was to some extent, it was as straightforward as that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also, because we were talking about like a big brother in Nazi house, yeah. So I mean, that was also the idea, just to see the action from many angles, and yeah. But I think that was also functional, just to have cameras in the corner to see what is happening. But there was also a lot of square cameras. So yeah, it was a kind of a process, because it was a kind of interesting process of setting up the cameras, because we had 10 cameras all at the same time, and every day it was quite the same thing, the same, like a very kind of painful process of looking for frames, because when you see the 10 cameras at the same time, many of them didn't work at the beginning. At the beginning it was like, oh, terrible, and then we were just looking, changing, trying to put them in a different place, going back. It was a very long process to find the places for 10 cameras, because when you're shooting 10 cameras at the same time, many of them then didn't work at the beginning. So that was quite of interesting process of just finding those frames, and yeah, I think that was. What can I say? Just because it's sometimes it's hard to just explain in intellectual. You just see, finding a frame and it works. You see the action you can see action well from this point, and it works.
I think something that's crystal clear from being on the stage with you great artists and craftsmen is that we could spend hours talking about all of your individual roles, your artistry, but it's all the time we have, so we must say thank you and good night. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your film. Thank you for sharing it with the audience. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.